Welcome to the Lighter Side Show. I'm your host, Jamie Butler, the Everyday Medium. Today we're going to be trans-channeling with Grace, my spirit guide, and Colleen Ziegler is on set with me. She's going to be asking Grace questions about her history, kind of where she came from, so that you Lumineers can get to know Grace a little bit better, and who knows, maybe you two will build a better relationship as well. Now, let's hang out with some Grace. Like some Grace, and
I got it.
Grace likes to have these channelings at the center. She calls them Grace and Wine, or Wine and Grace. Mm-hmm. Which is it?
It's Wine and Grace.
My dyslexia is getting to me right now.
Wine and Grace, yeah.
And everybody comes.
Which we haven't done in a while.
No, we haven't.
We haven't done it in a while. Mm-mm.
But it's really a wonderful event, and I would never mix alcohol and channeling, things like that. It's a no-go.
But the last channeling, Grace asked for a glass of wine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did wake up with...
And told me where it was in the refrigerator. I was like, we don't have any. She's like, yes, you do. Go check in the drawer. And I was like, okay.
There was like a bottle hidden in the fridge.
I had no idea.
Do you know it's still in there? It's open. I guess I need to pour that out.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I don't know. I'll take it home.
I don't know who's bringing wine.
Jesse will go get it.
Let us know, Lumineers, when does wine expire?
Jesse will have it with his expired rice cakes.
Jesse's
cutting
this out, cutting it out. So I was remembering all the times working with Grace, mm-hmm. and my first conscious memory is working with her and writing my book. And I started writing late 2017, published it in 2009, and that's when I really got to know her. Because she was always this kind of figure that would come in during meditation, and I knew something was there, and it always felt very angelic in a way, something just very sweet, kind, healing, all-knowing, that presence of mm-hmm. all-knowing. And it was just kind of, whenever she came around, I just sat up and behaved. You know, I was the good person.
Mm-hmm. Grace used to have, I remember when I first started coming to your channelings.
You remember this?
A while back. I'm so bad with time, but 7, 8 years ago, does that seem right?
Yeah.
7 years ago. Grace has, for lack of better words, she's lightened up a little bit. She used to be very stoic and stern.
Yes.
And not stern in a mean, bad way, but stern is the only word I can think of. But she's lightened up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because she's on the lighter side.
I couldn't help it. This is Colleen without eating. I couldn't help it. No, but she was like that.
Yeah.
And so imagine when you're in meditation and that kind of being comes
Yes.
forward, you're like, oh, here she is.
Oh, yeah, like,
you know,
I
would sit up and listen,
yeah.
and she would dictate stories and help me shape the book.
She was intimidating.
Yes.
Intimidating.
Very much. I was like, oh my God, I don't know where
Yeah.
she's come from. I've never had a spirit
Mm-hmm.
guide at that level or presence. And after the book was over and I published it in 2009, I thought, well, I guess that's what she was here for. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of it. And it wasn't. She stayed. She started trans-channeling. Mm-hmm. We've been working with her for 11 years with that. And now she has Graceful Insights on the show. So you guys will get to know a little bit more about Grace. Colleen is going to head that up. And without further ado, I will check out so you guys can spend some time together. I kind of wish I could duplicate myself and put it here so I could participate in the conversation.
That'd be fun.
Maybe that's something I can learn. Huh? That'd be wild. Jesse
we do like a hologram of you or something.
Hologram? Oh, here it happens, a little yawning. Oh. Okay. Hello.
Hi, Grace. Do you want me to get you some tea?
Well, I thought about that.
I know you don't have anything, and I just realized it.
That's all right.
Or water. Hot water?
don't think we have any water.
I think you're right. You were LaCroix.
Oh, no.
I know. Some
Carbonation.
hazelnut creamer.
Just a cup of cream. Just a slice of butter.
We're doing the best that we can, and sometimes it's just not good enough.
On a shoestring budget.
We are trying. So we've had an interesting morning.
I see
Yes.
you've had an interesting morning.
All three of us have been a little
Giddy.
giddy, a little, maybe not as grounded as we could be. So we're kind of bringing that down, and we're so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You don't need to bring it down on my occasion. I still get the birds.
Yes. The
Hello,
birds have been with us all
Lumineers.
morning.
They
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Hello, little Lumineers. My name is Grace. My friends tend to call me Gracie, and it is a pleasure being here with Colleen
Thank you.
and Jessie.
Thank you.
So I have heard that we're going to discuss my history.
Yes.
And what is it exactly that you're interested in?
Well, we've gotten requests for both you and Maitland to share more about yourselves. Maybe more about. I think we know more about Maitland's incarnation as Maitland, but we don't know as much about you. And maybe if you wanted to share some of your other lifetimes as well. And what makes up Grace?
Yes, that's an interesting question. Even if you were posing the question to someone who is living, what makes up Jessie?
Mm-hmm.
What makes up Colleen? We tend to just look at the life we're currently living, but there's so much more than that.
Absolutely.
There's influences from other incarnations. There's influences from other people, from dreams, through meditation. So what makes up Grace? In my human side of Grace, if we want to approach it that way, when I was last incarnated into a body, I lived in England. I lived outside of London, a little south, closer to Margate. We had a wonderful estate and property. I had my lovely dogs. Our family trained the dogs for hunting. My mother was the main figure in my life to myself and my sister. My father was not so much present as he had to travel out to other family estates and do his business and do his trading. And my mother ran the household. She ran in my household, which is quite different than what we have in current day households. And just remembering that our population was very low.
Can you give us an idea? I'm not sure if you said this and I missed it, but I don't think you did. What year are we talking about here? Or what?
I was a young woman in
Decade.
the late 1800s.
Okay.
Born 1846,
Okay.
47. And back then you're considered a young adult, promptly at age 12, 13, often married, sometimes at 14 to 16. And I did not marry. I had quite a different fate, as I needed to be present when financial situations shift. Often the children need to be more present, and if you don't marry off within a certain age, you're almost seen as untouchable, not worthy, not a good enough.
What if you're not
So-
married by your time you're 19 or
Oh yeah, you're old
something
maid.
like that?
An old maid, which was quite fine with me. I really loved being a part of the land and loved the harvesting and working with our staff and helping the people locally. So we had enough wealth for sustaining, but whom we had underneath our umbrella, which are the families that provided us with the meat that then we provide with grain, and that we would provide with poultry and so forth. It was a nice, really bargaining trading system. Quite easier than what you have it today, but a lot of work. So it's not that you were deciding who you wanted to be when you grew up, you were deciding how were you going to take care and run the system. So I was very much a tomboy, that's what you call it, the girl who likes to behave like a boy. I'm very tough, as my sister was truly a lady. My mother was truly a lady and quite proper, and it was quite difficult to grow up under someone so firm and fixed in her ways. When I saw children at my age doing other tasks and dressing different, I wondered, why couldn't I be like that? So I came into this world very much with an equality vision, whereas my mother was, let's say, trained in the hierarchy structures and well taught in politeness and manners. So it was a big thing for me to surrender being well-mannered and polite to be able to live the way that I wanted to live. And I think you really brought that to the Lumineers' attention when you mentioned meeting me so long ago, that I was still quite proper and well-mannered.
How you describe your mother?
Yes, yes, very much how I describe my mother. Surprise, you wake up one day and all of a sudden you're like your mum. And it's not exactly what you were aiming for.
Happens.
But yes, it happens. We fall back into comfort zones. And when I first met Jamie, and that was when she was calling out to find new guides. She was quite lost in that period in her life, wanting something more sustainable, something that she could kind of announce who she really is. And I thought, that sounds like me, and that's something that I wanted to do. And so I approached Jamie and became present in her meditations. As she said, I kind of circled around her a little bit before I came forward, and I can see now Jamie's hesitance, because we're very quite different. She so willingly to be barefoot and not read the rules and behave from her heart, whereas these are things I had to learn in my last incarnation. Upon leaving that life, I took a long time to myself. So I'd like to explain to the Lumineers that when we're talking about incarnations or the history of, we're not looking at history as a linear line. So I cannot say the sum of who I am, A plus B plus C, has equaled me, because all of this is structuring and happening at once. So when I'm talking about incarnations and then coming to, let's call it home, your heaven, beyond, some of you even use the term afterlife. So in this space, I have myself as Grace, as the life I've just left, but now I have the ability to merge with all the other incarnations that I was quite aware of at that time, crossing over, but not so much aware of when I was living. That I had an opportunity to merge into those lives, or I could stay very strong as Grace. And I found myself almost like another incarnation, choosing to be in this home and helping other spirits design their lives that they are looking for, their experiences.
Did you have any kind of mentor? Like, I'm just thinking, we just recorded an episode with Maitland, and she said Archangel Michael really taught her a lot after she transitioned. Did you have a mentor or a guide as well?
I did. I had many. I did not have one strong figure like Maitland's experience. I'm going to speak in linear terms. I'm looking at 80 years, and a whole other lifetime of grace in spirit as well as grace alive. So I had all of this contemplation, meeting others who were spirit counselors, meeting others who are archangels, teachers, gurus, guides, in all walks of life, trying to figure out how I can contribute the way that I best want to. Because when you arrive here, Lumineers, it's not as if we say, we have these job positions open, and here's your job description, and you can choose between this or that. When you arrive, it is, what is your soul's content? And if it's unknown, right, because you can be here and have things unknown, you're not an all-knowing being, not if you don't wish to be, that you then begin to find your content. And that's what I did. I took my time to find my content. I sat with many healers, many beloved ones, and found that my soul's content was listening to Spirit, who is finding the position, the place in home on earth, to relive, regain, or re-experience what they need. And a lot of times Spirit comes to me and they say, well, I need to speed this up. I have to have all of these experiences, and they stack them all on top of each other. And I kindly listen and absorb it, much like you are in life. I can do all of it. And I help them simplify. But let's leave that to later. Let's really focus on the core of this.
And you're talking about meeting with spirits before they
Incarnate into bodies.
and say, I want to do all this stuff.
Yes.
Look at all of this and really figure out.
Yes.
Do you really want to go through all that?
Do you really want to take that jump?
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yes, and finding the right location, the culture they're going to come into, what kind of timing, what's happening in the economy around them, in their country. It's important to find the right people, the personalities, the right families, the right belief systems. Everything that they are choosing in this life plays a part in who they will become. So that's something that I help them look for, and that I provide a space where they can question that, where they can contemplate it before they themselves decide, this is where I'm going. And even though, Lumineers, the way we are discussing this right now sounds very much like a process. Step 1, 2, 3, which is a very linear format. I cannot express to you enough that what we are experiencing on this side is not linear. So it's a very different kind of time.
I mean, I was thinking when you said that, correct me if I'm wrong, when you transitioned out of the last incarnation, you spent 80 years before you became a guide?
Yes.
That's a long time.
Yes, it's another lifetime.
Yes.
I stayed quite present as Grace in the afterlife at home, so that I could take my qualities and my experiences from that life and decide how I was going to use them to contribute. So in essence, what you're seeing is just another life version of Grace.
Tell us about another version of Grace.
Another life version?
Another life version of Grace. One that you hold close to your heart. If there's one that you really sticks with you.
I do relive one memory from time to time. It's very touching for me, which might not be as touching or full of excitement for you. I had chosen a life in Russia, on your earth, And this is right before the life of Grace, if we're looking at time frames. So we're in the early 1800s. And I was a woman, I was a wife, and I was a mother to a son. And the memory I relive the most is holding my son for the first time. Most of my incarnations that I choose, that I'm attracted to, I choose to be a man. Because I feel that there is so much more growth within man during this time period than there was with woman. I have already accepted my self-love, my ability to love and care for others, and I saw within men that they had quite a difficult time doing this. And this is an overarching view of mankind as it had shifted from matriarchal to patriarchal. And when we came into patriarchal, it became very fixed and behaviors and expectations and politeness and manners. And in this life I decided to be a woman, Teresa. And my son, he was beautiful, he was perfect. And this was the most amazing and easy birth. And I do apologize if I cannot make it through this memory. But to hold a man so small and to know that I would be the woman who would help shape the man. It went beyond a mother and son bond, a mother and son love. It felt as if I was about to change the world. He grew to be a young boy, and he made quite an impression on the families around. And he was smart. He chose to learn multiple languages as a young boy, a bit of a savant when it came to that. And back then it wasn't unusual for your child to go live with another family, to be taken off into another country, vowed to someone else at a young age, such as he was. He never returned. As I said before, man can be cruel. And it was the great loss of surrendering to the structure I thought that I was changing by allowing him to be shipped off and not being able to protect him and listening to other people's advice, claiming they knew better than mine, that I needed to behave and to be grateful. But it was quite hard to be grateful for a system that did not support or show kindness to me. In that life, I decided to take my own so that I could end it. And in doing that, it takes a lot of strength. And through the people's eyes at that time, it was quite a show against God. Though death was quite common then. And soon my memory passed quite quickly, and how I chose to leave. The stories faded so fast that I felt disappointed. Though I had saved myself, what did I leave behind? So if we're looking at what helped me choose not to marry, choose not to have children, and kind of break through as being a woman with grace, I'd say this life in Russia fed my life in England very strongly. And who I choose to be today relies on those experiences. I decided in my soul's content that I would be able to counsel those because I have gone through the majority of their experiences. Though I have not had many lives on earth, I have had many experiences.
Do you feel like that's a common theme among spirit guides, is that they have lived lives where they've had lots of human experience and gone through all those different emotions, and that's how they can lead and guide others?
Yes. I do find that having the experience is extremely valuable. But what is more valuable above it is having the ability to communicate it, to where in my soul I am not dictating or telling you what to do, nor am I suggesting how your judgment needs to play a role. Judgment on earth in human life is seen as almost like a public duty, is it not? You have rating systems on everything. Is he a good plumber?
Mm-hmm.
Is she a good psychic? Is that therapist good? You are constantly looking for a measurement or judgment being placed. Now here in home, judgment is not a public experience. In fact, it has no weight nor value. So when you're going to describe your experiences or consult or console, the use of the judgment, the comparison, the measurement is obsolete. And so in being strong within that and using it to communicate is very, very valuable. I hope I didn't lose you there.
Mm-mm.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, you lost me in the sense I started thinking about it, but not going to another place.
Right. Do you see how extremely different just having that one thing go from public
Mm-hmm.
to very private? And even if I were at home communicating to another spirit saying, that is not a good choice. In my opinion, it's not a good choice. In my opinion, you won't get what you need from making that choice.
Mm-hmm.
It holds no weight. So I have learned to not even express them. They are mine, they're very private, but it holds no weight with the others, no trigger, no, why would you even say that? Why would you direct me? So it's a very different type of communication where we are. I'd like to say, looking at my incarnations, the few that I have, if I had the ability to communicate the way that I do now as Grace, the changes that would create in my family and my community and broader would be so significant. But that's not what those lives are for me. So having Grace now, and in this way for the Lumineers, that is what this life is for me. I get to take this time and help you see where you are going, how you are judging it, and communicate to you in a way where measurement, knowledge lies within the listener, not the speaker. And so I'm making my impact that I wish to have made in my incarnations this way. So you can see what I am getting out of this experience. It's not a selfless service to you. Often I think many people who are watching spirits or being guided by spirits think that is a very selfless act, as if I exist to serve you. That is slightly true. I think we all exist to serve each other. But my existence is not solely based on that. I get something in return.
And you have needs as well as we do.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
And that's when the whole episode with Marshall really, I was aware of it, but he created a new awareness for me, and I think probably for our viewers as well, is that spirit has needs. And it's just not, they're not here, you're not here to serve us.
Not blindly.
Not blindly, yes. You're not here to blindly serve us. You're here to serve us in your own special way. But you're not I don't know how to word it.
There's a reciprocation.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And we are so grateful for you. So grateful for your guidance, so grateful for everything you bring to the show. Just immense gratitude for you, Grace, really.
Thank you very much.
Your graceful insights are truly welcomed and so much needed.
Well, I'm excited to add Marshall to the team.
Yes.
That is a very powerful presence for us as well. And this will be growing.
We look forward to it.
So what else would you like to talk about before we close up?
We have about 3 more minutes, but I was thinking, I have a question. Is there any, like, throughout your incarnations, is there any trait or maybe a modus operandi that they all share? That makes grace throughout the course of these lifetimes?
I would have to say my common thread through all of my incarnations is the need for wellness or betterment, is what I'd really call it. My need to allow life to be better than what it is. Now, the way I approach it in all my lives are quite different, with great aggression, with great acceptance, with hatred, with deep love. And that has given me the experiences that I've been looking for. But common thread is betterment.
That's a great common thread.
And I still
Yes.
have it now.
Mm-hmm.
In who I am presently with you. It is a consistent that I long for and that I look for and that I help create within myself and within others.
We feel that, it comes through. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for your vulnerability in sharing your story.
It's quite different when you share your story as a spirit in a
Mm-hmm.
body. As the body triggers emotions, brings them to the surface, where I could very well share it to you in spirit and be absolutely fine. But there's something very visceral about being back in a body and thinking about it. Thank you, Colleen, for being here.
Thank you.
Jesse, thank you for
Thank you,
allowing
Grace.
this to take place. And Lumineers, I thank you most of all, for without your eyes, without your ears, this would not be taking place. Godspeed to everyone.
Bye.
The lighter side with Jamie. game.